like to welcome you to awakening and activating your new life force energy river to heal and reclaim wholeness. And this is with AliNICOLE WOW. That's me. I'm most known as the WOW Empress. And I am joined by Brenda Jacobson from awakeningconsciously.com. And we've come together to share about one of my renderings that was called Activating Your New Life Force Energy River to Heal and Reclaim Wholeness. And we really want to talk about the importance of being knowledgeable about this new life force energy river and its benefits, and why this activation is really vital during this time. And also, Brenda is going to share about her experience and provide some empowerment for really how to best maximize this experience. And so after our conversation, because we're going to have some conversation about this, you'll be able to hear this guided process and partake of the benefits. So Brenda, thank you for making yourself available to be here with me and to share.
Oh, always a pleasure joining you on these, AliNICOLE. These activations are absolutely incredible. So love to do whatever I can do to get them out to people, because it's just so desperately needed in these times. We've entered a time in the world that is new to all of us.
You're right.
And none of the old tools really work for us anymore. So being introduced to new, simple tools like this to make that shift.
Yeah.
And to that, just joining that evolutionary flow is just critical for people.
I love what you said. It is joining in that evolutionary flow. It is very critical. It's very vital, because, without the knowledge of the new and how to best apply that, then, a lot of people are perishing for that lack of knowledge. And we're in a new world, as you said. We're in different times where things from before, though they serve to a certain extent, they no longer serve for this new expansion. And actually, a lot of that, those constructs have been breaking down for several years, but now they've kind of reached an apex, if you will, of that breakdown, disintegrating and disassembling, and it's causing disruption. But because people aren't aware to flow their energy into the new and what they need to actually be doing and be synced up with, and have the activation to be calibrated, if you will, for experience, then that's where a lot of the suffering comes in, just a lot of the lack of understanding of what actually is taking place, that this is the birthing of something new, and it's meant to bring people into a greater expansion than to destroy humanity as a whole. It's really meant to birth as a new.
Absolutely. And I think that, in the activation, you talk about reclaiming that wholeness. And, I think that I don't think any of us know what wholeness really is.
Right.
Because what we think of as wholeness in the old vibration is nothing close to what it is when you join into this evolutionary flow.
Right.
And that new concept of wholeness, really tapping into our truth.
Yes.
Which so many of us have never, ever really gone there, and if we have, it's superficial, but our truth has always more or less been dictated by what other people think.
We've been given a template, right? A template of what wholeness should look like, where we're in the era of individuality, where each person is getting their own information about what wholeness means. And that's the whole thing around kind of the new anatomy approach, is being able to get into your own information. And when the reclaiming is not necessarily about, getting something back or something, but it is in this context, the reclaiming is that, going back to what you said, there's a truth that each person has. And so we do sort of reclaim our right to our own truth of wholeness, and the right to say that this is what it is for me, and according to my life's blueprint or trajectory. And I don't have to leverage a template that everyone else is leveraging. I can be in my own river of life, to discover what that is at each phase, because it does shift, as you know.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, there's no need to justify it.
That's true.
You know, when we enter into this new world that has come upon us, and those of us that are kind of taking the lead in that, the other people staying behind often think that we're crazy. Often they don't understand that flow, and because they're not in it. So,
right.
So I know for me in the past, I've tended to try to justify what I'm doing, and people just don't get it unless they're in that flow themselves. They just don't get it. So
you're right. You're right. But now they're reaching a point where they're not going to have a choice, and all the things that they thought were crazy, and they find that, wow, you know, I should have been actually participating in my own expansion instead of having to have an experience be upon them, you know, where now you're dealing with it and now trying to make those adjustments and shifts and level ups at a time where it's kind of crisis and chaotic, where there was the time to actually be doing this when you didn't have all of that so that you could be prepared. But you're so right, because what's going to be being brought forth today really is, though, for those who have been on the awakening journey and who are really ready for this, you know, activation. So they get it to a certain level, and then this will just really expand them to better anchor and ground that new truth of who they are. And that's what the activation, in a sense, is designed for. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just was agreeing with you. I think that it's an absolutely incredible experience for people, and one that takes a while to settle in. It's hard to even find the words, but you don't initially think that anything much has happened until all of a sudden life changes for you.
You're right. Oh, that
and then you're going, if you've got that awareness that it could happen, you know, in hours or days or, you know, maybe even weeks. If you got that awareness, you're looking for it. Otherwise, you might just miss it.
Yeah. That's
wonder
true.
Why life changed so dramatically.
Yeah. So before we kind of segue into being able to introduce the process, you know, to others so that they can be able to listen to it, share a little bit about what this did for you. And then if you want to also share how you think that others maybe should, you know, best prepare to maximize this, even though it's going to be an individual experience, obviously. But sometimes triggers are good for those, especially those maybe they hear it and let's say they are new to this, and having some type of generalization of understanding, you know, would be beneficial.
Yeah,
sure.
And I know that it is different for everybody. I am really drawn to the water. I'm really drawn to that flow. I use that as an analogy in a lot of my work, is entering that flow. So just allowing yourself to kind of leave the riverbank and join that flow, and without attachment, without any expectation of where it's going to take you to, and just allow yourself to go. And I think you'll be absolutely amazed by what happens in the process. When I did that, and your deep breathing, the breaths that we take always take me into that lighter, higher realm, just within 2 or 3 breaths. So you're not doing this from the level of waking consciousness. You're doing it from an elevated realm, and just allowing your body to experience what it is. I love that that somewhere in there, probably towards the end, you asked the question, what does wholeness look like? And it looked very different coming out of that experience than it did going in, because through that experience, all types of ideas, possibilities, opportunities open up while you're in that flow. And as you emerge from it, you see wholeness in a different way.
Oh, absolutely. That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank
you.
You're
welcome. You're welcome.
That. Man, I just felt my own anatomy shift as you said that. Wholeness is just one of those topics or states of beingness, I should say, that it continues to be expansive, and there's always the room to redefine and refine it, you know, for sure. And always a new opportunity to keep reclaiming or just claim anew, I should say, just the different levels, in the different aspects. Something I love that you said about not having to justify really our states of well-being and our states of wholeness. And that's really important, because the more we surrender to the trust, and as you were saying, go with the flow and just trust the process, the more we surrender to that higher will, that higher divine will, then we do realize that there is nothing to explain. The demonstration of the fruit from the benefits of the life that's being lived through these processes, it speaks volumes. The energy that we vibrate, what we exude, is what really is the, if you want to call it, not sounding alarm, but it is really the symphony that's coming from us. And there is no need to really have to do justification, around, any of this. But I loved everything that you shared. I always love to hear when you go through the processes, because they're always so kind of multi-level, for you, that sometimes you hear it the first time and it's just really taking you into a higher realm, as you say, and then you'll come back at another point and be able to listen to and get more of the context to it. And it just really brings the activation, I believe, into a higher frequency, because the activations keep activating. They keep bringing more activations. These are really just ones to awaken and prompt individuals, but activations keep on going. They keep going. They're continuous. And I sense and feel that so much with you when you do these processes. So I think it's so great that you allow yourself just to go with it and just to be there in the process, and then come back and return to the riverbank of that experience, and then be able to grasp more of the experience. And I think that that's really important, for others too.
It absolutely is. These are not once and done activations. These are opening up different levels of that code every time you go through them. So they're a great tool to put in the toolbox.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, thank you again. I'm going to allow you to segue us into that experience, anything that you just want to share as kind of an entryway into this, activating this new life force energy. Because one of the things I know about you, because both of us, do the work with the energy body and just the energy work on a new level. And we know that this new life and the new life force is where we really have to be tuned into. And so I feel that, like I said, in and through you. So I'll turn it over to you to segue us into that experience.
Perfect. And I'm not going to say much more because I think a lot of it has been said. I would just say, just relax into this, follow your AliNICOLE's direction to breathe, allow that breath to take you into that new dimension and go for the ride. And you'll emerge in a place that you never imagined was even possible.
Let's take a few moments to get present. We're going to do some deep breathing. I want to open up to new life force energy to flow from within us. This is part of the awareness of the new anatomy that we have. Let's take some deep breaths, please. I know that several are feeling some disruptions and dis-ease within the body as you're going through these new transitions of becoming a new creation. having your new anatomy activated, there's a new energy system that is coming forth. And it's making its way through really your entire body, your entire way of being. It's part of your new human energy system, made up of multiple systems. But what we're going to most focus on during this time is the new life force energy. And being present with that energy that is within you. And I am the Wow Empress, AliNICOLE WOW. And I'm grateful to be facilitating this experience. But this is one of the most vital topics of importance, especially during this time. There's new life that wants to come through us. There's a new experience that wants to be lived. And in order to live from this new place, we need that fresh, new energy coming through us. A new connection to life itself, the way, the truth, and the life. You do the math of what that equals. That's the life that's going to be expressed. That's the life that Christ actually came to demonstrate and invite us into that connection. So as we focus on the new life force energy, the new way, truth, and the life, what is going to activate that part of us that has been buried deep within? The systems within the systems, the anatomies within the anatomies. How do we awaken to those truths? Because that's what's keeping most people in disease, with many health projects to work through. Our health is just speaking to us about a newer form of well-being. And without this knowledge, we often mask our preventive strategies and cures, so to speak, with putting everything into this category of kind of a linear healing process, and also leveraging traditional methods. And though a lot of those traditional methods served for the higher well-being during some time, but what we know is that everybody's anatomy is different. Sure, there's the commonality of the systems that we have and that we learn about, but each person has an individual template. And often we've been introduced to kind of a first version or a surface version of that anatomy and its uniqueness. But then there's different levels and dimensions of our anatomy. And the greater activation that wants to take place is really the activation of wholeness from this new higher vantage point. And this is where the new life force energy comes in to flow through us as a current, as a river as rushing water to really baptize us anew, if you will, and awaken and make us aware to this new cellular and cellular transformation and evolution of who we are. So as we receive from the internal life force stream flowing through us, we activate this new life force energy. And this new life force energy is what alivens us in our new energy body and anatomy. This is what alivens and activates at a higher level our chakras and just every aspect of the subtle energy body. And this is why we have to become a new creation. We undergo our metamorphosis and our evolution. And from there, this is how we optimize optimum living and well-being in this new physical format that desires to be expressed. We're in a new trajectory, or what some call a new earth grid. And that requires us to operate from a new anatomy, a new way of beingness. And this anatomy goes far beyond just the commonality of what we think about of our structures. These systems within systems and anatomies within anatomies, they contain wisdom and functionalities really for every area of importance in our lives. So I'm going to take a few moments to do some deep breathing of activating this new life force energy river, so to speak, so that it begins to bring forth the new life support, the new life oxygen, well-being template that is unique to you. So we can create this momentum and stimulate healing in a brand new way. And as we focus on wholeness, we begin to align our thoughts and our energies, our total way of beingness with the truth of who we are as optimum living, well-being, that we are already whole. And we're just reclaiming that wholeness in the new. And that's where this new life force energy current comes through us. So let's take some deep breaths, please. So let's be present with this new life force energy river. And we want to focus into that river because it has wisdom and insight. It's like tuning into your body's intelligence to receive the guidance and the wisdom for how you should move forward, to take best care of yourself. So instead of focusing on your discomforts and dis-ease, Focus into that river, this new life force energy river that's flowing through you. And that river is speaking volumes about this new experience, about your new anatomy. Take a nice deep breath, please. Life force energy, new life force energy, awakening and activating this higher level of optimum living for total well-being. Going through every cell of your body, and yielding and surrendering to that place of wholeness. So I want you to just imagine that every cell within your body is smiling. One of the reasons why it's smiling is because it knows that you are, or they are rather. Smiling is because the awareness of you waking up to the truth of your higher well-being, connecting to the life force energy in a very unique way, connecting to the way, the truth, and the life, and activating that in a level far beyond your comprehension. Focusing on the wholeness. We're all familiar with the story where Jesus asked the man who made excuses for not being able to get into the pool of Bethesda, where an angel of the Lord would come down at a certain time and stir up the pool for healing. And he said that someone always got in before him. He couldn't get himself to get in there. He'd get close enough to be in the vicinity, yet could not take it to the grander distance to get in. Jesus asked the man, did he want to be made whole? Did he want to be made well? And we know that at the core, we don't have to ask ourselves that question. We know the answer. We want the wholeness to come through us. And that wholeness is there. But it doesn't reside within the context and the premises that we've been given. In the Wizard of Oz, there's the famous line, there's no place like home. The wholeness already resides. And there have been the formats to try to wake us up to recall and reclaim. But I'm here to say during this time that it's not remembering that version and that template of wholeness. It's about awakening to the new, because you are anew. You have a new anatomy, a new way, a new truth, a new life, a new river of the water of life flowing through you, a new pool of Bethesda activated as your inner healing pool. And your primary goal is to align with the life force energy of this newer, higher context. So I don't want you to focus on recalling and reclaiming, so to speak, your wholeness from the premise in which you've been familiar with it. See all of this experience happening now. It's awakening you to the new way, to live from that new way in that higher place of well-being. The new life force energy. To focus into that space, and as you're present with it, even without asking, some awareness should come up in terms of what will best assist you with your well-being during this time. And you may receive some divine guidance in terms of a resource or a food to consider, a spiritual practice, different approaches to your lifestyle, things that can aid and assist you as you're focusing more into your wholeness and aligning that trajectory to fill in. Let's take some deep breaths, please. So from a remote healing perspective, or I should say a remote wholeness activation, listen to the sound and cadence of my voice and feel it as if a river is flowing. There's a rhythm, there's an underlying melody, there's a cadence to this flow. It is the perfect pace because it's accelerated enough to keep moving the energy, but yet it's calming enough so that you gain the wisdom and insights that are going to be most relevant for living out and facilitating the next level of your experience, demonstrating the whole of who you are. So we call forth the life force, the new life force energy for higher revelation and expanded awareness and clarity of vision for this right now moment, this right now experience. Being in a new place energetically and vibrationally. By far, it's just the greatest, just the greatest thing. Let's just be with this healing space, life force, new life force energy, flowing like a river. I can sense and feel the vibration of that deep core desire for wholeness. Such a healing space. And what does this new energy want to reveal to you now about this new experience, new way of being, new anatomy that's being awakened to? Mm-hmm. So at this moment, I'm going to send forth from a remote healing aspect, sort of higher frequency, so to speak, that will activate this new ascended anatomy is really what I call it. And this new level of the energy body is so important. The Bible says that people perish for a lack of knowledge. And there's so many people who have perished for a lack of this knowledge in this process, these understandings, which is why I'm so passionate about being able to share these types of awarenesses that are extremely relevant and required in order for people to be able to move themselves forward in the most healthiest way, to be in good health even as their souls prosper. So don't allow any pain or discomfort to distract you during this time. Focus on the new energy, the new experience, the new life, what that look and feel like at your highest level. Just be present in space. So I've sent forth some energy vibrationally for you to feel into that new life force energy river. And focus your attention solely into that space. Again, if you're having discomfort, disease, different things, to turn the dial down on that station, so to speak. And now turn up the volume into this new. It's a wonderful, beautiful energy. Give me a moment to be present with the space. I do feel this new life template activation that wants to come forth. And it really is just awakening the new anatomy on deeper levels. Mm-hmm. So you're being called to surrender to wholeness, surrendering to this new life force energy river. Surrender to your wholeness, immersing yourself into wholeness. And what does that wholeness look like for you at this phase? Don't try to base it off of anything previous. It's time to start anew so that you can participate at the highest level in this new experience. Mm. There's healing even in the silence, quieting the mind. When we do this, we're able to actually take thought and awareness beyond what we've thought to be, expand it. And we discover that we haven't even really hit the tip of the iceberg, and we haven't even skimmed the surface, so to speak. Would be a better way to express that. So much more to live for. And I invite you to align with that place within you. Mm. So let's take some nice deep breaths, about 3. So you might feel at this moment kind of a surge, but in a calming way. Energy flowing, activating levels of your new anatomy that have not been extracted yet, or even realized, and certainly have not been explored. And this is the opportunity to start that exploration and building this new relationship with your new anatomy. Focus on the wholeness. So let's take about 7 more deep breaths, please. Okay. So we'll bring this experience to a close for the moment, but just know that the energy continues to flow. The new life force energy rivers continues to be available to you. You meet up and sync up within that stream accordingly to what's emerging for you, but just know it's always available to you. Just tune in and align. Be gentle with yourself because these are new processes. And just know that your healing has already taken place. But as you're going about your way, doing the new, the way, the truth, and the light will always be available to you. Take another nice deep breath. Thank you so much for allowing me to provide this. Thank you for sharing the sacred space with me. I know that this activity, so to speak, will continue with you. So at this moment, I'm going to say my goodbye, so to speak. So again, the energy is consistently flowing. Just be present with it all. And allow what's true for you to emerge and come to surface. And you'll notice what to do with the wisdom that comes up and the guidance that you need to follow for your higher well-being. So be blessed, be healed, and ultimately be whole and live from your place of wholeness.